Hi everyone, so glad you're here. So I'd love to add in a daily stretch class, just hitting all those target sticky areas for you. That's a short, so that you can get to this after like a big day of activity or maybe sitting at a desk. And we'll get into the shoulders and the hips and the spine and all of it. So let's begin by coming onto our hands and our knees. And I should mention, if you have two blocks and a strap, grab those for your practice, okay? So shifting the hips back towards the heels. So coming back and forwards. You might want to block for this part if your forehead doesn't easily come down to the ground. Or it might be neat to have a block anyways in this one. Let's bring our hips back to our heels as much as they go. And you can either place your forehead on the block, which is kind of nice if it's foam, or on the ground, arms outstretched. Maybe bring the front ribs in and down. And just take a moment here, a silent moment. Tuning into your breath, noticing what comes up, whatever it is, greeting it. Emptying out here of all the stuff coming at you from the outside and tuning in to your body from the things that are bubbling up from the inside. Okay, so let's walk our hands over to one side. You can take that block with you. Keep your hips centered on the mat. And maybe you take your temple to the floor and gaze in the direction your side bending over to. Your head could be on the floor or on the block. And then we'll go over to the other side. So you can take your block over. Keep your hips heavy. Outstretch your arms. And come back into the center there. And you can keep your block or not. Let's take our right arm up so you can kind of sit back onto your heels. Make little circles with it, or maybe big circles. And then we'll sweep it underneath our left armpit. And you can take your head to the block or maybe to the ground. Sink your hips back to your heels, and you can pull your shoulder a little away from your neck, your bottom shoulder. Come on out of that. Come up a little bit. Try not to overly arch your back here, and make circles with your left arm, noticing what's in the shoulder there. Little ones or big ones. And then sweep it under to take your temple to the block. Shrug your shoulder down away from your neck. Outstretch your right arm and look to your right there. And come on up and out of that. You can have, if you have your blocks, one on either side of the top of the mat. And exhale back into downward facing dog, pedaling out through your feet here. Let's let our right leg come up and back. Bend the knee. Make a big circle one way with the knee and then the other. You might linger with the right hip on top of the left and maybe lift your knee a little higher there. And then exhale, bring it through for a high lunge. You can always use your blocks to help you up there. Arms up in this high lunge. Seeing if you can lift your back ribs off of the back of your pelvis. Getting nice and long through your spine. Let's exhale our hands down to the blocks or to the floor. Bring the back knee down top of the foot and come up, either taking your hands to your hips or your front knee. Come up and back with your hips and then sink in. Up and back. Keep a nice lift through the lower spine. And then let's stay forwards with this. Either take your hands to the blocks, or for some, you might take your blocks more underneath your hips and lift up and out of your pelvis. Maybe even take your arms up and grab a hold of your left wrist and side bend a little to the right there. Pressing down through your foundation, really substantiating from your legs to support your spine. Inhale into the center. Let's come forwards and start to shift the hips back and forwards, but gluing the right foot to the floor. So it's almost like you're trying to grab the floor with your right foot. Start to sink the hips back and forwards. And then if you like, you can start to peel the toes up off the ground. So your fingertips could be on the ground here or on the blocks. And then let's stay back into that. Inhale, come up. And as you exhale, come down, reach your belly button towards your right toes. Inhale, come up. Exhale, reach it forwards. Maybe let your head go, come on up. Reach it forwards. Breathe into that for a breath. Hips move straight back. And then shift it back forwards, right sole of the foot down. Swing your left shin around so it points out to your right. And come on up and start to bend into your right knee and back up. So you're facing the left side of your mat. You can make a big, big, big knee bend, almost coming onto the inside of your left knee. And then let's take it into a big side stretch. So right elbow to your knee, come up, out, and over. You can hold your head if you like, maybe even straighten your right leg, gluing the sole of your foot down. Try not to back bend or curl, or you could even try that actually, it feels kind of nice. You could sway forwards and back, but then eventually find that straight lateral side bend. You can really move any way that you want that feels inviting. Okay, let's sweep it on up, and you can come down to take your blocks in front of you. Tuck your back toes under and start to sink back onto your heel. And let's bend our right knee. And you can almost let your right knee move back behind you, and then you can even take it down to the floor. So I'm tucking my back toes, getting a pretty good stretch for the sole of my foot here. So if your feet have been in tight shoes, that's nice. Back. And then I'm gonna reach out through this right leg and turn the toes so that they point forwards. Now I can be on my blocks or on my fingertips here, and I'm gonna shift forwards and back with my back toes tucked back into this. And I'm gonna try to take the whole sole of my right foot to the ground. Shifting forwards and back, maybe staying down and engaging the underside of this leg and trying to take the whole sole of the foot down. I might even reach it out a little more, so I'm getting that inner line stretch. A little bit of support around my knee with my engagement of my legs there, maybe pulsing back into that a little bit. Now I can come up, and if you want, you can actually move your left knee a little more out to the side with those back toes tucked under, so it's a more obtuse angle, so a bit bigger, and then come on down, and I'm gonna pulse my hips back. I don't wanna back bend too much here, so nice full back. Trying to grab the floor with my right foot. Maybe for some folks, if you like, you can even pick it up, take your left foot out, and find both soles of the feet on the ground. Maybe come down a little bit for a breath there. I like to engage my inner thighs here, so I'm feeling like I'm holding a bit of tension in this big stretch. And then I'm gonna take my hands underneath, bring that back knee, tuck toe on the left, sink back into that, and then walk all the way around with the blocks or not to the front foot. So I'm in that low lunge again. I'm gonna sink back and forwards a couple times. And then come into a pigeon. So your right knee towards your right wrist. I'll start with a toe point here. You can also place a block underneath the hips and point the back toes. So we've done a bit of hip flexor opening here. I want to come forwards, maybe the block underneath my forehead. If I had a foam block, that might feel nice. And get into the right outer hip, okay? You're welcome to work with like a more parallel front shin bone. It'll make it a bigger hip stretch. You can either point your toe or flex your foot. Check it out, see what feels better. And for some, I like to have my foot a little closer to my hip for this one. You might come onto your left elbow, bend your left leg, reach back and take a hold of it with your right hand, and either land on a block here or land your head maybe even on the ground. You could even reach back with your other hand and draw the heel in towards the buttocks. So if you're having pressure in your right knee in any of these variations, you might roll onto your back and take a figure 4 stretch with your right ankle in front of your left knee and drawing that in. Let's take a couple more breaths, any variation you choose there. Maybe elongating your exhalation. Really beautiful. Let's come on up. Take the hands underneath the shoulders. Pick up that right leg and pedal back into your downward facing dog. Press your hands down and forwards, fortifying your upper body. Widen your shoulder blades. Bring your rib basket back up into your shoulder blades so your armpits feel buoyant, a little lifted from the floor. Then stretch the sides of your waist back. Great, let's come forwards into a plank. Tuck the toes under so that you're on the top of the toenail side of the foot into a plank. Pull your armpits back, take a breath there, and start to gently move back into like a tippy toe or a toenail downward facing dog. So little movements, maybe for some you go right up and back, big stretch to the top of the ankles. This is so nice if you've spent a lot of time on your feet, maybe neglecting this range in the ankle. And then let's come back forwards, tuck the toes under, pulse back through the heels, and come on down onto the abdomen. So here, let's take our left arm out to the side, bent with the elbow in line with the shoulder, and roll over. I'm gonna bend my knees, actually, both of them. Maybe the top knee goes skyward and steps behind. I don't wanna overarch my back here. So you might stay with your knees together, and then I'm gonna try to drop my tailbone a little so I'm not overarching in my back. I wanna feel nice and full there. My right hand can support, and the left temple could be on a blanket or a block, or on the ground. Blanket would work too. Let's take a couple breaths into that left shoulder. And to roll it over onto the other side. So I like the block. We're gonna take that cactus arm or that goalpost arm, elbow right out from the shoulder, maybe bend both legs. And instead of arching my back, I'm gonna draw my tailbone back and down, fill up the back area. And you can use your left hand to push gently. I want my neck to feel released here. So you don't have to go so far over, right? Just a little until you feel that nice, even pull, a long line of pull into the right chest. You can even push your hand into the ground to accentuate that. Let's roll over into the center. And now let's take our right arm across, same arm, palm facing up. Pull the arm down, just like thread the needle. And see if we can turn our left temple to the block or to the floor. I can even interlock my hands here and pull that bottom arm with my top arm a little more into a stretch of the outer shoulder. You can also have your forehead on the ground or on a block here. And let's go over to the other side. So we're going to take that left arm across and either temple down, right, and interlock the hands and gently pull a little more through that left arm. Depress the shoulder a little bit so the neck is free. Maybe turn your right temple down. Just gentle there. And back into the center. Take those blocks on either side. Let's come up into a cobra. Exhale, lower down. Come up into a cobra. Press the pubic bone down. Exhale, lower down. Let's press into the hands. You can come up to the knees or come up to a plank and back into downward facing dog, where you take your left leg up, bend the knee, make a big circle one way and then the other. Maybe open the hip, lift the knee a little higher, press bed down through your hands, clearing out some space in your lower back. Knee to nose there, shoulders over the wrists. Take it into a high lunge, back toes tucked. Couple breaths there, sinking into your legs and then lifting those back ribs up, straightening your arms, looking forwards. Brightening your upper chest. Exhale your hands down to the ground, starting to straighten your front leg any amount, breathing into that. And then shifting forwards to take your knee down to the ground, top of the foot. You can use your blocks here. Let's start to come on up and sink in and back. Pulsing forwards, keeping that lift out of the low back area. Maybe stay low there. You can either come forwards, hands on the blocks, top of the back foot on the ground. Maybe you choose to walk your blocks back a bit, press into your hands, lift out of your low spine. Almost like you're hanging your hips down and lifting your spine out of that. You might even push strongly down through your foundation. Lift up, grab your right wrist and side bend a little over to the left. Push down through your legs there. Come back to center, release that out. And then we'll start to shift back and forwards, gluing that left foot to the ground. Hips back. And then start to pick up the toes and pulse back into that. Beautiful. Let's stay back there. Blocks or fingertips. Let's inhale, come up. Exhale, lower as we reach the belly button forwards. Come on up and lower. Might tuck the back toes under. Come on up and lower. Reaching the belly button forwards, maybe letting the head go. Shift on forwards, and then we're going to swing our shin to the left, tuck the toes under, and we'll come on up to start to sink in and back, starting to feel that inner line of the leg, maybe the Achilles. Can tuck your back toes under there, and then let's come into a big side stretch. So you're welcome to move around in any way that you like here. And then maybe for a moment finding that straight lateral bend so you're not arching your spine or rounding. You might even straighten your left leg. You can hold on to your head here. Come on up there. Tuck the back toes under. Take your blocks forwards or your fingertips and start to shift back onto that tucked back toe. And you might even use your hand, encourage your left knee to drop back and maybe into that internal rotation. Back and in. And then we'll start to slide out that left foot, and you're almost trying to grasp the floor with your foot or your mat and start to shift forwards and back on that right tucked toe. And then you might even come down onto your elbows and pull a long line of gentle tension up through the inner line of the leg. And if you're arching your spine a little bit, try to fill up your back. You might even come up a bit and widen your right knee a little out to the side. So it's a bit more sensation there in the inner line stretch. You might even come up onto your hands and kick that right leg out. You're trying to grasp the floor with both feet. Maybe come down onto your elbows. A little bit of tension in that inner line of the legs. And you can come on back up onto your hands, bring that back knee in. We're gonna walk all the way around to our front foot and start to shift forwards and back a couple times. Really nice. Let's take it into our pigeon. So the left knee towards the left hand, you can use a block. Back, top of the foot down, maybe coming up a bit, maybe sinking in and forwards, choosing, like if you want a flex foot or a pointed foot, being aware of the knee. You might also flip onto your back and take that figure four with your left ankle on top of your right knee, right? You might want to bend your back leg if you're on your forearms and take your back foot with your left hand, your right foot with your left hand. Maybe even coming down a little lower, even forehead to the ground, and reaching back with your other hand. This is a little strong in the hips because there's a little bit of resistance, which is kind of nice. One more breath there. And let's slowly release that. Press into the hands. Come on up and back into downward facing dog. Pedal out through your feet. Come down onto your knees. Take your forearms to the floor, and if you have a block, you can actually hold it in between your hands. Squeeze it lightly, or have your hands flat on the ground. And shift forwards and back. See how that feels in the shoulders. Crazy. Glue the elbows down, shoulder distance apart. And then you might reach up into a forearm dog. Pressing down through the center of your forearm, lifting your armpits a bit away from the floor, and stretching your side waist back. Maybe a little pulse side to side in the knees. Let's come on down there, and then either have your hands together or with your block. Walk your elbows forwards. Dig your elbows down into the ground to lift your armpits a bit, and then aim your forehead to the floor. So your hips are moving back on top of your knees. You might inch your elbows forwards and keep that pressure down through your elbows so that your armpits are lifting a little, and go for long instead of bendy. Like a decompression, spaciousness there. Maybe even some put the chin down to the ground if it feels okay in the back of the neck. You can walk the knees in if you feel kind of stretched out there, dropping the block down. And let's come up and roll back onto our back. And on our back, we might need our strap. So let's come on down, take the right knee into the chest, squeeze it in. Take the strap around the foot. You might wrap your hands around the strap a couple times and draw that leg away and in towards you. So you can also bend and straighten, feeling out your hamstring, maybe elongating your left leg. Breathing into that. You can also shift your foot side to side. In and out. Point and flex your foot. Any little movements that bring you any release and relief, depending on what you've done today. Noticing how your breathing is. Noticing where you like to feel your breath the most. Is it in the abdomen or the chest or the head, nose? Let's release that. Switch sides. You can hook your left foot in, release your right leg out. It can be bent or elongated. And you can slide side to side here or draw that leg in. Maybe moving it, pointing, flexing through the foot. And letting that release, you can take your strap over to the side, draw your knees in towards your chest. Rock on up and bring your hips back, your legs forwards. Walk your hips back like a little butt walk. So you feel more shifted forwards. You might also put a prop or a block underneath your hips. And then start to fold forwards, tipping that pelvis forwards, thinking about your belly button reaching towards your toes, maybe letting your upper back round. Roll it on up, come onto your back, however you like. Little twist, long right leg, left leg out and over. And other side, long left leg, right knee bends, right knee out and over. Come on into the center, elongate your legs and find another silent moment. Maybe close your eyes. Notice what's come up, the vibration, the energy, the aliveness, sensation, connection, grounding. Just notice. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Peace.